Hey guys, Greg Silverman here, CIOs and Bowties, coming to you from the beautiful Cape Town, Table Mountain behind me. Listen, if you've never been to Cape Town when all this COVID nonsense is done, I highly suggest you get to the tip of Africa, the most beautiful place. All right, quick summation of recent news and articles. The first article is about Robinhood. Robinhood is now valued at $8.6 billion. They increased their Series F from about $380 million to $600 million. And that Series F is being led by Sequoia, which put in $280 million. This is on the back of a spike in retail trading or day trading. About 3 million new accounts have been opened on Robinhood over the last couple of months. They certainly cite, virus-fueled volatility, people staying at home. There's no sports to essentially bet on. So there's just a lot of day trading going on, and Robinhood is the major beneficiary. They talk about companies like Hertz, which was for all intents and purposes bankrupt and was bet on, and then SPACs, special purpose acquisition companies, which are essentially blank check companies. Very interesting article about Robinhood. Second article is about how endowments have been doing better this crisis versus the last financial crisis. It cites Nakubo. Nakubo basically ranks endowment performance. The average endowment for Q1 of 2020 was down 13% versus down 22.5% for Q1 of 2009. Interestingly, out of 2009 came a legislation called the UPMIFA Act, UPMIFA Act, which essentially said that if the governing body of an endowment or foundation were prudent and they thought you could extend your spending beyond normal spending requirements, that was allowed to happen. Essentially, if an endowment was underwater, they could spend more than they would normally. And I said that's actually helped a lot of the funding going forward. But definitely, how that's going to happen in a COVID era in the longer term is a question mark as kids go back to college. Many of these institutions and big buildings are going to sit, either empty or highly scaled down. So it's going to be interesting to see how endowments are going to deal with that. Another article that people really liked is about Ares, A-R-E-S. Ares is a private equity manager out of Los Angeles. They just raised a $3.5 billion distressed debt fund, and that fund was oversubscribed by $1.5 billion. Steve Mayer, a USC business professor, says the whole entire distressed community has been waiting 8 years for this moment. And then down the road in LA, there's Oaktree, which is rumored to have raised $15 billion distressed debt fund. So it's interesting. A lot of money is rushed into distressed debt. Distressed debt typically does well in kind of DIP type loans, debtor in possession type loans, where it finances the bankruptcy, comes out with post reorganization equity, and that's where you do really well. But I'm wondering if this cycle, the stress cycle, is going to be very different because of the level of money that's gone in. Either it's going to elongate the cycle, make it longer, or it's maybe going to be a lot shallower than expected. We'll have to wait and see on that one. Final article is about a company that almost no one's ever heard of called Geo Platforms out of India. This company is worth $71 billion. I'll tell you a little bit about it in a second. But people are considering this to be the Alibaba equivalent of India. Now, this company came out of an Indian conglomerate in November 2019. It came out of Reliance Industries. Reliance Industries is a big conglomerate. Their founder died a number of years ago. They were still going through a succession battle with the controlling family when this all came out. They spun out this company, Geo Platforms, for $15 billion, basically relaxation of debt. So they spun it out, no debt, just all the growth engines in it. And essentially, this company in the last 9 weeks has raised $15.2 billion from the likes of Qualcomm, TPG, Abu Dhabi Investment Authority. Facebook put in $5.7 billion. Google are looking to put in $4 billion, and all of this for 25% of the company. So a very rich company. Really, essentially, its backbone is the Geo Telecom. Their mobile division has 400 million subscribers, and the intent then is to upsell the subscribers on payment platforms and streaming, etc. All right, guys, final thing I want to tell you about, my old friend Fraser Rice is going to come on board and CIOs, and we're going to do a great interview with him. He's going to talk about trust and estate planning, and there's some really interesting stuff that he's going to bring to bear. And then my other friend Stu Kaplan will be on later, and he'll be explaining exactly how to structure solar transactions to get the maximum tax benefits, tax credits out of it. So that's Greg Sylvan coming to you from COVID, Cape Town, and you all take care. Over and out. See you later.